folks, how we doing? We are back. Got the decals on. Episode 11, I think, of MMA Mondays. Let me look. Yeah, we're on 11. Got a lot to talk about, especially some exciting things to talk about with Anderson Silva. I was not expecting that. Talk about the fights from this past week, and we had the Korean Zombie facing off against Dan Ige. Made some money off that. I didn't make a betting video, but I had some pretty good betting success. I'll get into all that. I'm going to go ahead and just dive in to the Korean Zombie and Ige fight card, recap that. I'm not going to go through every single fight, simply just because I did that for when I would bet on the fights, but I'm just going to go through the ones that were really kind of exciting ones and just worth talking about. I'm going to go ahead and see if I can switch this over. And if it looks choppy or anything, if there's some quality issues, let me know. If my mic's not working, because I tried to get this all set up, but I was a bit rushed on it. Okay, so this fight, the Murata and Jandiroba, I think I'm saying that right, Jandiroba. That was pretty nasty because Murata was in Jandiroba had Murata in an armbar, and Murata's like biggest hero like in fighting is Sakuraba or Sakura. I can't say his name. Sakuraba. I don't know. He's the guy that was like the Gracie killer or whatever. The guy who just wouldn't tap to anything, and she wasn't gonna tap to the armbar. She completely got her arm like I don't know if it like got snapped or whatever, but it looked like it was broken. It was definitely like either swollen or dislocated on her elbow. That was pretty nasty. They ended up stopping it in between rounds just because they she couldn't obviously fight. She couldn't even lift her arm up to block or anything like that. It was pretty brutal. And then this next fight, Alexa Kumur and Nicolawood. I don't know how to say that either. But actually Kimura, as you can see, was a pretty massive favorite, and I even did, if you guys watched my video I uploaded last week, yesterday, I had I gave some betting tips and I used him as an example. Obviously I didn't actually bet on him, but I used him as an example because he was such a massive favorite and he ended up losing, which was kind of crazy. Keeping it rolling though. Matt Brown, Diego Lima, that was pretty insane. Another underdog that won. He was getting the snot beat out of him too. And again, in my video, if you guys watched that video, I was literally recording, showing the screen. I was like, Matt Brown's a flipping immortal. I get why they call him immortal, because he was eating all those leg kicks and just walking forward like it was nothing. And as I was saying, I get why they call him the immortal. He just smokes Diego Lima. Hit him with like I wouldn't even expect it. I thought if his best chance would be like those clinch elbows, because they kept kind of clinching up against the fence, and I thought maybe he'd catch him with an elbow and rock him. But this like a phantom punch or whatever, he just like, it was fast and it was out of nowhere. Put Diego Lima down, pretty much starched him, put him to sleep. One punch knockout. That was very sweet. Keeping it rolling, another sweet finish. Bruno Silva he was actually getting worked for I don't want to say worked, but it seemed like Turman was actually doing a good job of putting the pressure on him, grappling pressure and all that stuff. And I forget exactly what happened, but somehow position got reversed. Bruno Silva ended up on top and just bludgeoned this dude into oblivion with some ground and pound. That was pretty sweet. And then another flippin' sweet finish. Sung-Hoo Choi versus Julian Erosa. A lot of people in the betting community were actually going to go with Julian Erosa as like a big underdog to pick. I actually was looking at him as a bet to place, but I don't know. I didn't feel super confident. I explained all that stuff, the betting stuff, in my video uploaded yesterday. But for this reason, Choi ended up smoking him. He was just so much faster than Erosa, and he hit him with that left hook. And I think Erosa, I don't know if I'd have to go back and watch it, but when he dropped him with that left hook, Erosa didn't know what was going on. They hit him with like probably 4 or 5 more shots after that. And I think after the 2 or 3 shots, they probably could have stopped it. It was like flipping, what's his name? Mario, oh God, what's that horrible ref? Namasaki, or I don't know. Mario Namasaki, I don't know. But yeah, that was brutal. It was a brutal knockout. Marlon Vera and Davey Grant. This was a really good fight. I think this should have been fight of the night. If it wasn't, it should have been. It was a pretty sweet back and forth fight. Grant was throwing some bombs. He was getting wild, and he was tagging Vera, but Vera was just durable. And I think Vera did a good job of weathering the storm, and was just being very effective, being tactical. I mean, it seemed like he was ahead for the most part everywhere they went. Like stand up, it was pretty close back and forth. Grant definitely had a power advantage. But Vera ate it pretty well, and when it went to the ground, I mean, I think Vera was a step ahead. It looked like a couple times he could have finished Grant, had him in some rear naked chokes and some other submissions, if I remember correctly, but he was busting him up. He carved him up pretty bad, and I think it was those elbows that he was landing on. Davey Grant was just cutting him up. And then this fight, I think Oleinik actually looked good in the first round. Second round, he started to tire out. He was like looking at the clock in the second round, and then same thing with when the third round started. It was like 4 minutes to go, and he was like looking at the clock, breathing into his mouth. And Spivak ended up winning a unanimous decision, as you see here. And then this fight, I had a parlay with Marlon Vera and Chan Sung Young. I got him at plus 115, so I got better odds actually than what they have displayed on here, more profitable odds. And I think Chan Sung Young was ahead of, again, same thing with the Marlon Vera fight. I think he was just ahead every step of the fight. Didn't matter whether it was on the feet. He did a good job of drawing attacks out of Ige. Like he would get Ige, he would throw feints and throw something just to get Ige to just throw an attack out or a counter out, and you could just see he would just pull back and just barely be out of the way. And it was like it just seemed like he was just drawing all of his attacks out of him to see what Ige was, his game plan was, or how Ige was trying to counter. And maybe Chan Sung Young was trying to counter the counter in that case, trying to draw his attacks out to then see what he does instinctually, so then Zombie could find some way to counter off that. But I think even on the ground too, Zombie was ahead. Ige was trying to engage in a lot of wrestling. It seemed like Ige was a pretty strong dude. He is a black belt, I do believe, and Chan Sung Young just absolutely worked him on the ground, and I think he got his black belt that night too, because I mean he dominated Danny Ige on the ground. I think he looked great, and I talked about this in my video before the fight actually happened. That's one. I just think that if you look, this is another betting tip. I guess I didn't throw this in the video, but I'll throw this in the podcast. If you look at people's record and you look at who they beat and then who they lose to, if they're losing to like top ranked people, like someone like Dan Ige, I feel like he's somebody that struggles when it comes to fighting like high level people. Like if I can pull up his Tapology here, I was talking about it in my video. There's some fights he had some really close split decisions, and then some people that he lost to that I believe to be high caliber opponents, like Edson Barboza, Mirsad Bektik, and Edson Barboza. I think Mirsad Bektik's problem is he dominates the fight the whole time, and then he starts to wear off the gas on the end. I've seen that in so many different fights. The Damon Jackson fight, he was working Damon Jackson, and he got caught in that guillotine there towards the end, got choked out. Darren Elkins' fight was working Darren Elkins. Wasn't even close. Probably 10-8ing Darren Elkins, and end up getting knocked out in the third round because I think he just lets off the gas a little bit. And I think that was the same thing in the Dan Ige fight, and then the Edson Barboza fight where Dan Ige won a split decision. I personally believe that Edson Barboza won this fight. I don't know if I could pull up the fight stats, or if they might. I don't know if they would tell that same story. But if you go back and watch the fight, I genuinely believe that Edson Barboza won that fight. And then Calvin Kattar, he got the snot beat out of him by Calvin Kattar, who I believe Calvin Kattar to be a high-level elite, top-ranked featherweight. And then Gavin Tucker, tough dude, but not a high-level featherweight, not a top-ranked featherweight, I should say. And then Chan Sung Young, who is a very technical high-level featherweight, lost that fight. And I said that in the video. I said that I just genuinely thought that that's how the fight would play out because it's an experience thing. And when somebody like Dan Ige, when you're fighting, I mean, he's fighting tough dudes, but he's I don't know. I feel like he just needs more experience, and there's really no, like, if you're giving him split decisions just to give him a split decision to boost him forward, I don't think that's really good. I think you should just let him rack up the experience. And I think that's the biggest thing, is this is a good fight for him to gather the experience, because he said it was just little technical things he's got it correct, and you go in, and if you take it's, I mean, and that I could definitely see that, because like he was losing a lot of the grappling exchanges in jiu-jitsu. It's like so weird because you could know the whole sequence of what to do, or like escapes or certain techniques, and I'm sure it's the same way with any facet of fighting, but one little minor detail, one little way you distribute your weight, or just anything like that, is going to throw off the whole entire move. Or you're supposed to put your hand here instead of there, it just can throw off the whole entire move. You could have 5 out of the 6 steps correct, but if you miss like one critical step, everything's out the window and it doesn't work. And I honestly believe that to be the problem maybe with Ige. He's probably just got a few technical things he's got to touch up and fix. But I think Ige is good. I think he just needs the experience. He just needs the time to season himself and just rack up octagon time to learn what to do and what not to do. I think that's the biggest thing in fighting. That's the biggest thing I think in jiu-jitsu. I talk about that with people that when they first start jiu-jitsu, the whole first year of doing jiu-jitsu is getting your butt kicked. Like it's all trial and error. You get your butt kicked enough times to know, okay, I shouldn't do this in this situation, so maybe I try this. And you have some success with this, and you start doing that a bunch of times, so that works. And then you maybe try something else. Okay, well, this doesn't work, but if I do this little minor change, then it does work. And it's just trial and error. And I think that's probably the same thing with fighting. Unfortunately, with fighting, it's not very forgiving. You only have so many errors before you don't have any more trials. So you got to be smart about it, but I think Ige will be fine. I think he's just got to correct some things and come back And then later on that night, we had Anderson Silva and Julio Cesar Chavez Jr., which was funny because that whole entire promotion, the tribute to the Kings, I think was just a thing to like boost and promote the Chavez brothers and Julio Cesar Chavez Sr. Um, and it was just funny because I don't think, well, I mean the senior, his fight was with Hector Camacho Jr. was an exhibition, so no one really won that. I didn't even watch that fight actually. I ended up going to bed after that. But Omar Chavez ended up losing, which was funny because again the whole event was put on for the Chavez family, and then you have Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. facing off against Anderson Silva and got absolutely worked. I didn't think there was any reason that should have been a split decision. I could understand if you give Chavez maybe 1 or 2 rounds. Maybe I could see the third, giving him the third. I don't know what round maybe you could give him after that, but there was no way that could have been a split decision. It should have been unanimous. And the fact that Chavez thinks it should have been a draw just shows what kind of delusional state that guy lives in. I mean, a lot of people are going to argue that because Chavez, they're just be like, Chavez is a head case. He's not really all in on fighting and stuff like that. Yes, I do agree with that. But at the end of the day, the dude, like what the announcers were saying, the dude has a record of 52-6. Like that's a very good record for a boxer. He was a WBC middleweight champion. You could say what you want. Maybe his dad got him to where he was, but you have to have the skills. You have to have the ability and everything in order to be a world champion in boxing. That's not easy to get to that stage and then win a belt. Whether his dad, maybe could pull the strings, get him some fights to build up his record to get him to that point to win him an easy fight. It doesn't matter. I do believe that he's not nearly on the same level as his father, not even close, not even in the same universe as his father. But I think you can't discredit Anderson Silva there. I do understand the arguments because I definitely get that Chavez. I mean, he came in overweight when he fights at like I said, he used to fight at middleweight, which is what, like 168. I don't know if it was super. It might be super middleweight. I don't know what the weight class is for super middleweight, but some middleweight, I believe, one of the middleweights, whether it's junior, whatever, because they have a gazillion flipping weight classes in boxing. One of them is 168. He used to fight at 168, and I think he fought fairly recently back in November. And then he's fighting at 182 this time, so it's way heavier, like what, 12 pounds heavier than what he normally fights at, 14, I don't know, I'm horrible at math, but he's significantly heavier than what he normally fights at and still manages to miss weight. I definitely understand the dude's a head case, but I don't think you could discredit Silva for, he's 46 years old. Anderson Silva is 46 years old fighting a dude who's 35, almost 12 years younger than him, and just completely outclassed him in boxing. When Anderson Silva hasn't had a boxing match in 16 years, he's only had 2 of them, and he lost 1 and won 1. And then he fights a former WBC middleweight champion, a pro boxer with a record of 52-6 or 52-5 at the time, and just absolutely worked him. I think that's very impressive. I wasn't expecting that whatsoever. It was, I mean, I wouldn't even plan on watching it, but then I was like, might as well watch it, and I'm pretty happy I did. Finally, we got something back for the MMA community against boxing, and it's not some Ben Askren, it's somebody that can actually strike, and somebody who's considered to be one of the goats of MMA, and that's what made me nervous about this fight happening, was because if he loses, I mean, he's going to lose to, he is losing to a pro boxer, but he's considered one of the goats, so that's going to be a bad look if you have one of the goats of MMA losing to somebody who's not even a GOAT or not even close to being a GOAT in boxing. But that didn't happen. Anderson Silva showed, the dude's a true martial artist, a true fighter. He showed that, and that was pretty sweet. I'm sorry, I probably should have switched the scene over, but I'm going to go ahead and go to the Gan Volkov card. I'm not going to go through every single fight. I'm just going to point out some good fights that I think are going to be entertaining, or just some that catch my eye. These 2 fights right off the bat probably be pretty good. Charles Rosa, Justin James, Yancy Medeiros, and Damir Hadzovic. Quick predictions. I don't know. I'll probably go with Charles Rosa, but the dude's kind of been shaky fairly recently. And this fight, Yancy Medeiros, I don't know. I'd probably go with Medeiros because I feel like Hadzovic hasn't had a whole lot of success in the UFC. I don't know much about these other fights. Tim Means, Nicholas Dalby, that'll probably be a good fight. I'll probably go with Nicholas Dalby there. Prezeris, I believe, is that dude that's like built like a tank. He's like fighting at welterweight, and he's like probably like 5'6", but he's just stacked. Let me see. Yeah, he's 5'6", fighting at welterweight, which is hilarious because that's like a flyweight height. Tamir Valiev, that dude's actually really good. He's very skilled, but I think he's another person that gets kind of lets off the gas because he dominates people too much and got caught. You saw that in his fight against, oh man, I can't think of the fellow's name, but he was getting the snot beat out of him the whole fight. This was like last August, and he was a pretty decent favorite, and Valiev actually ended up winning. or I mean, ended up losing. I'm sorry. He was working on the whole fight. Some other good fights. Natsumo Kano, Jai Herbert. This is actually a pretty decent card. Ramazan Ameev and Warley Alves. Probably go with Ameev. Pineda and Andre Fili going with Pineda. That's a lot of these main card fights are actually really good. Kennedy and Chukwu, and Danilo Marquez. I really don't know. I might go with Chukwu because he beat Carlos Olberg his last fight out, and I was really high on Carlos Olberg. I thought he was a stud. I thought he was going to beat Chukwu, but Chukwu weathered the storm and ended up putting Olberg to sleep. Tanner Bosser, OSP. That'll be a really good fight too. Bosser fought fairly recently too. He fought I want to say 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, very recently. I'm gonna look that up. So the fact that he's fighting, and I think he went to a decision. He fought. He lost actually. I'm almost certain he lost to Alir Latifi. Yeah, That was 3 weeks ago, 2 weeks ago. That's hilarious, or not hilarious, but that's crazy that he's fighting. He lost a split decision. It was pretty much a grappling heavy fight, but that's kind of crazy he's having this fast of a turnaround. And then Cyril Gane, Alexander Volkov. I don't know. This is actually a very good fight. I think Gane, if he has a similar approach to how he fought Rosenstruck, he could have some success. But I think the length and the size of Volkov is going to pose a lot of problems. And I just think overall experience, I got Volkov there. I've been high on experience. Someone like Gane who's only 8-0. I'm going to go with the experience that Volkov has, both in MMA and kickboxing experience. But yeah, that's all I got for this card. Let me see. We got the Ultimate Fighter tomorrow. I forget who's fighting. I know it's Vince Murdoch, and I want to say Dustin something. But I'm going with Murdoch. Murdoch's one of the people I do actually recognize off the cast of the Ultimate Fighter that I knew before. And I'm going to go with him. I don't really know much about a lot of these bantamweights. My only 2 picks maybe to win for the bantamweights. I got Tresean Gore all the way for the middleweights. Bantamweights, I either got Vince Murdoch or the Tercios dude, just because that dude seems like a nut. He kind of reminds me of a Tony Ferguson type character. But yeah, I think I'm gonna wrap up this episode here today. I know this one, we're only at 18 minutes. I apologize, guys. This one's kind of a short one. I just wanted to get this one out. I feel like I definitely every single month I tell you guys I'm going to do these when there's fights. And unless there's not fights, I won't make one. But I just wanted to talk about the points I had written down, the things, the recap this weekend. But I got, I just can't, not today. I got some family things going on right now. So I'm probably going to hop off this right now and definitely get some more videos out this week. But yeah, I hope you guys did enjoy this. I apologize again, it was very short, but my mind's just not here right now to make this, to be able to sit here and flow on a podcast like this. But I do appreciate you guys tuning in. I appreciate your guys' support. If you guys didn't check out my video yesterday from the fights, recapping the fights and reacting to the fights, along with some betting tips, personal betting tips that I use when I make these betting videos, I have a video up with all that information. But yeah, if you guys did enjoy, please sure to drop a like, share this podcast. If you guys really enjoy listening to my podcast or any other of my videos, please send my video to someone else that you guys would know that would also enjoy it. Like, comment, subscribe. Until next time, I will catch you guys hopefully later this week for another video. Definitely next Monday for MMA Monday recap of these fights. Until next time, I'll catch you guys later.